Hey guys, it's Marshall with you. I am doing a new video today to demonstrate NPC AI with the plugins. I was asked if the Legends plugins could do NPC management. You have NPCs roaming around your village doing various things, and how can you leverage the Legends plugins to make them do different things without having to write any code. And the other important question was, can you do it for a single player module, not a persistent world? Now, while I've always said that my plugins were designed specifically for persistent worlds, some of the features of many of the plugins doesn't require you to run one. So this video today is about how to run the plugins against some NPCs to roam around a village and do it in a single player module. So we'll get started with what I've got going on. First of all, a shout out to, I believe it was RJ Shea. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but that's what it looks like when I look at it. It's RJ Shea, who created recently a little town and some other areas. This is the town of Wits End. I found it on the Vault. I thought it was an awesome looking town. I might even try and see if I can throw it into my persistent world. But it is a fantastic little village here that I just wanted to give him some props to. I'm using that to demonstrate our single player module today. So next thing I'm going to go through is show you what I've pre-done, and all that is I've installed some of the Legends plugins, the ones I think I'm going to need in this single player module. So I'll just fire up Master Configurator here. And as you can see, I've already got them active. The info plugin, the AI plugin. I'm not really using the info plugin. I don't know. I'm not going to use the info plugin much. It's a habit because the quest plugin requires it. But you won't actually see much facets of this. The ones that you're going to see me use a lot are the AI plugin, the spawn plugin, and the special effects plugin. Now, I know the quest plugin requires a database and all that stuff, but you can use the special effects plugin without a database in a single player module. I'll show you how that works. You just basically leave all the database options blank, or just leave them alone and just activate these plugins and hit finish. Update your module scripts and update your area scripts if you need to. But very important, as always, you need to have your area scripts, your on-enter area scripts set up. And I'll just bring this area properties over. You have to have the leg all master on enter or the leg all master on exit scripts in these two fields here on your areas, or you need to call them from whatever custom script you have in here. Now, if you do an update all areas from the master configurator, it'll modify any scripts you have here, or it'll just place these ones if you don't have any there, so you don't really have to worry about doing that. Okay, now whenever you add new plugins to a module, you got to go into configure each one. So, and I've already done this, but I'm just going to go through it again. The AI plugin. Oh, and just a note, I'm using the plugins version 2, which at the time of this video is not released, but they will be released very soon. And a lot of the features I'm using come from version 2. So you just go into the configuration and hit finish on each plugin that you've activated. So info. And any of them that require a database, we'll do a little pause and you get a little pop-up says, note, a database has not been configured in the master configurator. This Legends plugin has some features that require a database. Some features may still work without one, and it's just telling you that if you do add a database later, you have to come in and do the reconfigure. So that's that one. So that's okay. What else did we add? We added the quest plugin. And basically I'm just leaving all the defaults and I'm just hitting finish. Now the quest plugin will say, it'll say the same thing as before, but this one requires a database backend. However, you can still use the Legends special effects plugin built in to this without one, and that's what we're going to be leveraging today. We're not actually going to use the questing, we're going to use the special effects, but it's built into the quest. And the spawn plugin. We'll do the same thing here. Now, one thing I do want to turn on in our spawn plugin that's not a default is this hide spawns on exit. Now this is a new feature. I believe it came out in 1.9.4. It might be in 1.9.3. I'm not sure. But this is an important feature, and what it does Anybody that's used the Spawn plugin in the past may have noticed that what its behavior is when it comes to creatures and NPCs, basically mobs in an area, when you leave the area. So when you enter an area, all the NPCs and mobs that are configured to spawn will spawn there. When you leave the area, when all the players are gone, all the mobs will despawn. They all leave, and you can actually go in on a per mob basis and say don't do that. You can just say no despawn on exit, and they'll stay there forever. What I decided that I wanted to see was a little bit better performance when it comes to re-entering areas. So when I left said area and all the monsters despawned and I come back in, they all have to respawn again, which is a big, it's a big piece of work for the Spawn plugin to perform. I wanted to try and improve that performance. So what this option does, and it's just an option, is if you have this on, when all the players leave an area, rather than actually destroy all of the NPCs and mobs in the area, what happens is they go into a what I'd call a hidden state. And this hidden state makes them so that they're not rendered. You can't actually see them. They go invisible. And it's not an invisibility spell or anything. They actually stop rendering. Their AI gets turned off, so they actually don't chew up any resources at all for their AI, and they just kind of sit there in suspended animation wherever they happen to be. When you come back in, they don't have to respawn, so the Spawn plugin doesn't have to recreate all those objects again. All it does is unhides them and reactivates their AI. So I've been using this for a while now, and I've found the Spawn plugin performance improve significantly. It's also very handy for doing some cool tricks that we're going to show with this particular demonstration with our NPCs. So it's just an option that we want to start using. I think that everybody should be using this in the future, but again, it's really up to you. So that is the plugins, and and as usual, once you're done all configuring all that, you do a compile all scripts or use an external compiler to compile all your scripts, and that'll be it for that part. Next, we're going to talk about what we're actually going to do here in our little module, and I want to try and keep it really simple. But what's important is that I can control as many NPCs as I like. But I'm only going to set up one or two guys here. So I made a little plan. I'm just going to drag this over. And what this is we're going to have an NPC named Bill. And I've already got him created. He was just a copy of another stock NPC. I haven't changed his scripts or variables or nothing. Just made a copy of him. And Bill is going to do things around the village. And he's going to do them at different times of day. So Bill's routine is he's going to be between 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. Bill is going to head to the docks. He's just going to, wherever he happens to be at the time, most likely his spawn point, he's going to head to the docks between 6 and 7. Between 7 and noon, he's going to do some various forge work around the docks. And from noon to 1, Bill is going to head over to this town statue. From 1 to 4, he's going to cheer on the bard that's standing there. From 4 to 5, he's going to head over to the cow field, and from 5 to 8, he's going to do a walk around town. You got to get some exercise. And from 8 to 9, he's going to head home. And then when he goes home, he's going to open his door and disappear and close the door behind him. Outside of this time, so from 9 p.m. right up to 6 a.m., Bill's not even going to be in town. He's going to be presumably inside his house. So you can do that with the Spawn plugin fairly easily. You can set up times that Bill will be outside. So that'll be one of the things we'll be doing. But most importantly, we are going to be using the special effects plugin to change Bill's behavior at these times. Okay? Now, one important thing I want you to notice when we're doing this, and this is kind of how the trick works. Every activity Bill performs, there's what I would call a transition activity, and it's only an hour long every time. So here we have an hour long. This is what I would call a transition activity. He's going somewhere. He's stopping what he's doing and moving to his next location. Okay, and we give him 1 hour to do that task. Here again, this is a transition from 12 to 1. We give him 1 hour. Bill is heading over to the town statue. So he's going to leave the docks and head over to the town statue to do his next thing. Once again, right here, 4 to 5, this is another transition. He's leaving his activity of cheering at the bird and heading on over to the cow field. And then last one, this is a last transition. Bill heads home, and when he heads there, he's going to open his door and disappear. So I look at these as a transition, an activity, a transition, an activity, a transition, an activity. And now if you follow this kind of pattern, the times are completely irrelevant. You can set whatever times you want. You can have 24 hours a day of activities, and each activity could be 5 hours long or whatever it is you want. The time's not important. What's important is that you set your NPCs up, especially when they're doing multiple tasks like this, to have some sort of transition time and an activity time. And a transition time shouldn't be more than an in-game hour. These are all in-game hours. So your transition time should be an in-game hour. That gives your NPC enough time to get from one place to another. Now, when they arrive at that place, they're not actually going to start their activity until you tell them to, which is, in this example, 7 a.m. So he's going to just kind of arrive. If he gets there early, if he gets there at, say, 6:45, that's okay. He's just going to stand there by the dock, get ready for his activities, and then at 7 he'll start his activities. That's kind of a little bit of a side effect. It's not that big of a deal, but that's kind of an important thing, and you'll see why that's important soon. The next thing that we want to do is understand how we're going to do this. Now, the special effects plugin, again, I'm not going to get into the basics of the special effects plugin. Go look at my previous videos to understand how the special effects plugin works, what the flag systems mean, what all of that stuff means. But to sum that up in a nutshell, the special effects plugin uses a flag-based system that gets set at various events, and when those flags get set, the special effects plugin can react to the flags, okay? And that's what's going to make all of this magic happen. So what we're going to do here is we're going to assign some flags to each of these events. Now remember, this is considered an event. This is also another event. So between 6 and 7 a.m., that's an event. And when that event happens, we're going to set flag 1. When this event happens, we're going to set flag 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and 7. Just like that. So, between 6 and 7 a.m., we're going to have flag 1 activated. Now, the special effects plugin, as you probably see is coming, that plugin is going to tell Bill to head over to the docks. Between 7 and 12 p.m., we want flag 1 to actually turn off, because we don't want Bill, we don't want the special effects plugin to do anything for that time period. We want it to do stuff for this time period. Get out of there. And we want flag 2 to go on. And of course, as you can probably guess, when flag 2 is on, we want special effects plugin to change Bill's go away. We want to change Bill's activity again to do forge work around the docks. Now I'm just going to turn this off because because that's annoying. Go away. Now, so where was I? Sorry about that. That was somebody else modifying my Dropbox files. Anyway, Bill's routine and his flags have been assigned to it. So one thing I want to do is a little bit of pre-work here, just for, and this is not really important, but it's just for environment, is that this one here, between 1 and 4 p.m., Bill's going to go over by the statue and cheer at this bird. So I actually want to set this bird up. That's what I want to do. So before I even get into doing the AI, I just want to do that little bit of environment. And all I've done is I've made a copy of Guyven of the Road, and I'm just going to use him to be the little bird at this statue here. Okay. So how to do that? Oh, and the other thing I never commented on is I've already got Mr. HB Man down for spawning, so the area is already prepped for spawning. So all I've got to do now is place a spawn waypoint, which I'm just going to grab. There's a spawning waypoint, and I'm going to place it right where I want Guyven of the Road to appear. Okay. Now we'll configure that spawner. Oops, I want to do that. I want to actually use the plugin to spawn Guyven. Add. And we'll just make them plot. And I want him there all day long and all night long. I'm not going to get into, making this guy do something special. I just want him to sit there and sing all day long and all night long, just for environment. If this was going to be an actual village, I would probably have him do something at night or whatever. But for this example, Guyvan is going to be very, very simple, and he's just going to stand there and sing all day long. So we'll finish. Now, the plugin has noticed that, so the Spawn plugin has noticed that the Legends AI plugin is actually installed and active. And it says, not all the creatures in this spawn is using it. Do you wish to apply the Legends AI scripts to this spawn? So what it's saying is Guyvan doesn't have the Legends AI configured on him. The Spawn plugin has noticed that we do have the AI plugin installed, so it can go ahead and modify Guyvan and give him the appropriate AI scripts. We want all of our monsters and creatures and NPCs to use the Legends AI plugin. So we'll just say yes to this, and it'll modify him, and we're good to go. Now, of course, we want Guyvan to actually do something. We don't want him just to stand there like a dead stick. We want him to do some singing. So we're going to configure his AI. And we're going to fire up the Legends AI plugin. I'm not going to do this on Guyvan's blueprint. I have a habit of doing AIs on spawn points. And there's a reason for that. And the reason is because it keeps the number of monster and NPC blueprints down. So if I have, for example, if I have Bill and he's going to be doing stuff out here in the village, I can have one set of AI, and then if I decide to take it one step further and have Bill spawn inside the house during a different time of day, I can have a different set of AI, and I don't have to put it all on his blueprint. I can just have, some of it on one spawn point and some of it on another. So, back to Guyvan here. We're going to get Guyvan to do some bird singing, and he'll just do that within 5 meters of wherever he was. And that's it. That's his default AI. He's going to do that all day long. Save, finish, finish. Because we got him to do some bird singing, we're going to need a bird singing, and we did an NPC task. So whenever you do an NPC task, you need a special NPC waypoint for NPC tasks. And we're going to put that kind of right, kind of right there. Close enough. Yeah, that's good. And just to show what I grabbed there, I just grabbed the Birdsong NPC task from the Legends AI. So that's that. So the bird, our good buddy Guyvan, is all set. He's good to go. And right now, if I went in and logged into this game, he'll stand there and do a singing animation. If this was a persistent world, I'd actually have the banter plugin configured here as well, and I'd actually give him words to sing. I'd give him a song and throw words in and actually make those words come up. But we're not going to get into that kind of detail. So let's see where we're at here. We've got Guyvan all done, and we're going to bring Bill in. So Bill's house is right here. This is Bill's house. This is Bill's door. Show you that. I've got a tag here on this door, Bill's door. I'll show you why that is a little bit later, but that's Bill's door. Bill is going to spawn near his door. So we're going to throw down a waypoint here. And we'll throw it right here. And the first thing we're going to do is just configure Bill to use, to be spawned by this thing. Good old Bill. Alright, we're going to set a couple of options on Bill. The first option we're going to set is no home on hide. Okay? Now this one means something special. Typically, when you're playing a game of Neverwinter Nights on a persistent world server, and you have monsters in there, and anybody who's played in a game like this that have had monsters chasing them to the end of the area, and you leave the area, all those monsters are gathered up at the edge of the area. They don't typically transition across areas. They stay in that area and they stay right there. When you come back, those monsters are still there. Now, in the old Legends spawn plugin, what would happen is a monster would spawn at his spawn location, that would be his home, and a player would come along and fight him or run away from him, for example, and then the player leaves the area. What used to happen is the monster would be despawned. He would actually be destroyed. And the player would come back in, and he would respawn again, and he would respawn back at his home location. When you hide creatures using that hide option that I discussed previously, that behavior doesn't happen. What happens is when you leave the area, wherever the monster happened to be at the time, for example, the edge of the area, he will hide. He will stop rendering, and his AI will be disabled, but he'll still physically be there. Like, he'll still be in that location. He'll be all, chewing up minimal resources, but he'll still be there. So when you come back, the system unhides him. He's still at the area again. The default behavior with the new hide system is to actually fix that so that the monster does unhide back at his home location. So every time you leave an area, all the monsters shuffle about wherever they're going to be. You leave the area, they all deactivate. You come back in, they all reactivate, but they all reactivate back at their home spawn point. This option disables that behavior for this particular spawn. So for Bill, when someone leaves the area, I don't want Bill to respawn back at his spawn point. I want him to actually respawn wherever he was at the time. So if he was over at the docks working away and everybody left the area, when everybody comes back into the area, I want Bill to still be at the docks. I don't want him to be respawned back at his spawn point. So that's why I don't want him to go home when he's hidden. And he's hidden when everybody leaves the area. So that's what this option is for. Another option I'm going to turn on is this one here, spawn hidden. So this one, I'm going to get into why I'm doing this one in a little bit, but it's important to note that what this option does is whenever this spawner is activated and we need to spawn Bill, he's going to spawn in hidden. That means he's going to spawn in and he's not going to be rendered. His AI is going to be disabled. He's not going to chew up any resources, but he will exist in the world. And there's a reason I'm doing that, and I'll explain. I'll actually explain right now. Once again, Bill doesn't have any AI, so this is going to add the Legends AI scripts to him. So here's the issue that you might think about. Typically, and again, remember, you have to remember, my tools are built for persistent worlds, so not necessarily single-player campaigns. And this may not necessarily be important here, but it is important for those people who run persistent worlds. You have to remember that Bill spawns here all the time. Whenever, say this area has never been entered before, and the first player comes in here, Bill will spawn right here. Well, that's a problem, because depending on the time of day that a player enters this area, Bill may not necessarily or should not be here at this location. And let me explain that with the little plan that we have. Let's take this, for example. Bill, between 7 a.m. and 12 p.m., Bill does various forge work around the docks. Okay. So that means that if a player enters this area for the very first time at 10 a.m., Bill should not be here. He should not be at this spawn point. If a player comes in here at 10 a.m., Bill should be over here at the docks doing his thing. Okay? We don't want at 10 a.m. for a player to come in here, Bill to spawn here, and have Bill walk all the way over here and then start his routine. No. Based off of Bill's schedule, he should already be here. But we're not going to need a spawn point in every single location where Bill should be. What we're going to do is we're going to have Bill spawn in hidden, so he's actually not even going to show up. He's going to exist in the world, but he's not going to show up. And we're going to look at the time, figure out where Bill should be at that given moment in time, and teleport him to the proper location based on the time and based on what he's supposed to be doing at that time. We'll teleport him while he's still hidden, so you won't actually see him appear here and disappear. He'll be hidden to begin with already, and then once he's arrived at the location, we'll unhide him and send him on his way to do his routine. That way we can simulate that Bill was always in that location at whatever time a player enters the area. Okay, now that sounds a little complicated, but it gives you the illusion that the NPCs are still going about their daily business, still going to their proper locations and being in their proper places, even when players are not in the area. That's what this illusion does. And you get to do it without running any heartbeats, without running the NPCs while people are not in the area. Because the last thing you want on your persistent world server is to have NPCs running around doing things in an area where there are no players. That's a waste of resources. If no one is there to see it, then why waste the resources? If there is an illusion, if there's smoke and mirrors that you can create that can give you the illusion that they are indeed moving around to their proper locations. So there's some little hiccups to it, but it still saves on a hell of a lot of resources and gives the appropriate illusion that you want. So that's why I had to get into some explanation there of why we're spawning built-in hidden. And you'll see how we're going to do this as we progress. This video is coming up on about 25 minutes now, so I think I'm going to stop it here and start a second video because I don't like to make videos too long. And what I'm doing here requires a lot of explanation. Once you get into it and you understand what's happening, it's actually really easy to do, but what I'm doing requires a lot of explanation. So I'm going to end this video here and move on into the next video, and we'll continue on with configuring Bill's spawn point, because we're not quite done with him yet. We still have to do a couple other things, but we'll do that in the next video. So we'll see you there.